Imagine an electric vehicle highway running through Africa and what that would do for the millions of Africans who depend on such a road. And not just the highways, but the vehicles that would ensure a complete loop so you get on the road and don't worry about running out of charge wherever you are on that route. Well, for one company, this is no longer an idea, but it is being implemented from Nairobi to Kigali in a quiet, incremental transformation that is beginning to take shape on East Africa's roads. This is happening as fuel prices rise and global conflicts continue to disrupt oil markets, with countries like Kenya facing a growing question: how long can Africa remain dependent on imported fuel for transport? Kabisa, a Rwandan e-mobility company, has hit major milestones, including setting up a subsidiary in Kenya as it expands not only its network but also the offerings for its customers. Today, John Msingo, the Kenya expansion specialist at Kabisa, joins us for this very special episode of the Africa EV Show. John, it is great to have you today. And when you left for Rwanda as you were setting up operations in Kenya, did you think that your first year would be as eventful as it has been?
No, I did not. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's such a great honor to be here to represent the company here.
Yes.
The last year has been crazy.
Yeah, we can laugh. Yeah.
But company has grown. We've done quite a few things and we're glad. And we're moving from strength to strength.
All right.
Yes.
Nice. Now, given the rising fuel costs after disruptions linked to the United States and Israel conflict, with Iran, how quickly can Kenya realistically shift from fuel dependence to locally powered electric transport?
The transition is always in phases. I wish I'd wake up tomorrow and we'd have 1 million cars, but unfortunately, it has to happen in phases.
Yeah.
A good start is what the president has said. We've all heard what he said, and that's a very, very good start.
So the president said that the first 100,000 units of electric vehicles, it doesn't matter if they're passenger, if they're trucks, whatever they are, the first 100,000 will be tax-free. But China's EV manufacturing scale, led by their more than 100 vehicle makers, has driven costs down globally.
Yes.
And how can Kenya leverage this to accelerate adoption without becoming overly dependent on imports?
So, for me, you first of all have to bring in the technology in whichever form.
Yeah.
Let the vehicles come. Let our guys open them up, look at them, burn a few things, but not too much. In that way of interacting with the technology, you now begin to master it. Then now from there, like what our company is actually doing is we're looking at bringing in CKDs. So once you have the CKDs, you get another level of mastery as well.
Yeah.
Eventually, hopefully, the aim is to probably go and do some more advanced manufacturing in the future. But you have to start from somewhere.
We have to start from. And that starting from somewhere already, there's a lot of vibrancy, if there's a word like that, in Kenya's EV sector when it comes to assembly. We have Ridens who are assembling vehicles. We have Basigo who've been doing it, and they have become like the face of the EV shift in Kenya. We have many others, because it's not just the big names. There are also other small organizations that are doing great things. And like you said, assembly is where we begin.
Yes.
And I support that. Because you're in both Kenya and Rwanda, by the way, we can get a comparison. What is happening in Rwanda in this space?
Rwanda is poster boy for the continent.
Yes.
They started early on. They removed the taxes. So we're talking about extremely favorable policy. And with that came a lot of vehicles that came into the market. And now when you have a lot of vehicles, you end up building the whole ecosystem.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden now, charging infrastructure now becomes profitable. You have technicians being trained. You have the whole basically ecosystem is actually built off.
Yeah.
You need the vehicles here to be able to now spur development of everything else in the ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you're working with original equipment makers in China.
Yes.
And as an African, the EV space is very nascent, it's very young. But what levels of original equipment making are you involved in? Is it that you're helping with the design or with the research, or is it that you have gone to China and seen a truck or a vehicle and identified that this can be used in my country, in Africa?
Whenever you're bringing in a new product, you always have to have conversations with the OEM. And that is to be able to localize it. So what will happen is that you will bring in a product, test it together, share data with them on places and things that they could actually improve on. That is actually one of the most important things for any sort of like a dealer to be able to do. If you're just going to go and buy the car and then just bring it into the country, you might find challenges in terms of accessing spare parts, in terms of accessing software. So the relationship between the dealer here and the OEM is critical. Yeah.
Okay. And I think probably because you've mentioned the software,
Yes.
should we be concerned? Because what I know is that software is an expensive thing because it's an IP. It's an intellectual thing. Are there concerns when it comes to software? Because when it comes to upgrading, what we have seen with the phones is that sometimes the software dies or they phase it out. And so you have to ditch that. Is it going to be the same thing with the vehicles?
And that is why it is important for wherever you get your vehicle to ensure that you're dealing with someone directly who has direct links to the OEM. Because, as you've said, the software is not something that the OEMs would want to just have everywhere.
Yeah.
They would definitely want to give it to very specific people who can be able to actually use it and use it well. So when you buy the EVs, just buy from companies that have been around, companies that you could actually see have repair centers, companies that could actually diagnose some of these vehicles. Those are very key things that someone needs to do.
Okay. And from your experience over the past year in Kenya and longer in Rwanda, do you see the completely knocked down and semi-knocked down kits assembly as a viable first step toward building a domestic EV manufacturing base? Or do you see it moving us, advancing us into now we are no longer just assembling, we are no longer importing all these kits, but there are some, like 60% of the components in the vehicle are locally done?
Yes. So I love that question. When the vehicles come first, everything will be 100% from China in terms of the kit.
Yeah.
But then the more you continue building it, the more you look at certain aspects and components and, you're like, I can localize this. I can go and get this from some other, I can be able to source it here in Kenya. And you continue building it up to the point where you reach a certain good percentage of the truck is actually made from locally sourced products.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. That's very assuring because, in Africa, we are always, Africa is not a country, but in different African countries, we are always talking about jobs and the youth, and like 60% of Kenyan youth are not in gainful employment. What policy mix, tax, incentives, subsidies, or infrastructure investment is the most critical for Kenya to transition from importing EVs to assembling and eventually manufacturing locally? I know you've mentioned that the president announced or made a statement about 100,000 EV units coming in, tax-free.
Yes.
That is zero
Zero.
I hope so. What do you think about that policy mix? What do we need to do to get us to where we need to be?
So this is John speaking on his own behalf.
Yes, but as an expert in the space.
Yeah. I think that we need to be able to have a certain number of completely built units brought in. Once those are brought in and people are able to actually interact with it in the market, then that now creates the market. That then now informs capital flow towards doing local assembly.
Uh-huh.
So you first of all build the market, show the market, then now attract capital, let the capital come and start doing local assembly, start maybe having a battery plant. And this is important because whatever it is that we do here, we could probably serve the whole East African market. So it is critical that we're able to get all these steps done quickly. And then now we're able to then solve the need for electric mobility for all the East African all the other East African countries from here. So that would be the sequence of events that I would actually do.
Yeah.
Bring in the fully built kits. Bring in the fully built units, show the market, then phase that out slowly, attract capital to be able to do local assembly. Once you do that, then eventually attract high value production, like even battery level production. Yes.
And I think, we have mentioned this on our shows. My colleagues, Eric, Kobas, Gerard, we've been talking about these things. For instance, in Zimbabwe now, they have started processing lithium locally. And that, in addition to adding jobs, also creates the skills for the people who are in that space to get to the next level of building batteries locally.
Yes.
And something that you've mentioned, and I have been talking about this, is we could come together as 3 East African countries or the entire East African region and say, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, you're going to build this. Rwanda, Burundi, and the DRC, you're going to build this. And then, because we are in the same economic market under COMESA, not COMESA, under
EAC.
the EAC, then we are going to be, because these are components of the same thing, the taxes will be zero rated or minimal to help us move. And I think that is a thing that we need to start thinking about. And like John, you're saying, we need to act fast.
Yes.
Because the rest of the world is not waiting for us.
Absolutely.
And there is no need of us getting worn out technology just because we are Africa. We can also build. And I believe that we're able to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. This is the time now. Let's act.
Yeah. The Iran crisis, and with demand rising due to fuel shortages, are we likely to see a surge in EV imports in the short term? And how can that demand be redirected into building a local and sustainable industry? And I think this question is like repeated in many different, because we really have to nail it down.
100%. Due to the crisis, and it's sad because what this means basically is that the cost of living for everyone has gone up, and we don't want that. It's sad.
Yeah.
But as the EV industry, quite frankly, we have benefited. We have benefited. A lot of companies now are really looking at it, because you can imagine you had done your budget for a quarter, and you wake up, the budget has increased by 40%.
Yeah.
And if you are serving customers, you have to absorb it. It doesn't matter. You see, so a lot of the companies actually are really looking at other options, and e-mobility is proving to be a viable option.
Yeah.
And through that, quite frankly, a number of e-mobility companies have really benefited.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, like you're mentioning, when we talk about fuel and inflation and life becoming expensive for everyone, in Kenya, I think it has more than doubled in terms of costs that you had not factored in, because diesel, for the first time, maybe in Kenya's history or in my lifetime, is more expensive or has been, actually it's more expensive because it's being subsidized some way. It is more expensive than gasoline, which I have never experienced. Yet, diesel runs our economy in terms of the farm produce being moved, it's diesel. The small industries that you see in the small villages where there is no electricity, it's diesel. Think of the Kisiagi or the milling small factories. That is diesel that runs them.
And that is the thing. When you look at logistics is the backbone of any economy. And a small change in terms of price in logistics has a big multiplier effect on everything. Potatoes from Molo.
Yeah.
Mbogas from anywhere else. All those ones are transported to Nairobi using diesel.
Yeah.
And so really trying to decouple the economy from that diesel dependence and getting into electric mobility is something that is extremely important for African nations to be able to try and do. All the electricity that is generated in African countries, majority of it is clean.
Yeah.
Majority of it is from renewable sources. And so it would be very important for us to be able to really just decouple slowly. We're not saying that tomorrow. I'd love it to happen.
Yeah, overnight,
but no, it's not a process that you can just wake up and say that no, but you can start.
Yeah.
And when we start slowly, maybe in about 5 years, 10 years, we'll see what kind of progress that we've made.
Now, China's EV boom has been backed by strong state support and industrial policy. What lessons can Kenya adopt and what should we avoid when trying to build our own automotive and battery ecosystem?
Policy. China, it is very clear. They went and they told guys, we are going this way, we're going to support you. And what happened? Capital flowed.
Yeah.
Capital loves a stable environment. For Kenya, I think that is the biggest lesson. Currently, the E-Mobility Association of Kenya is in the process of preparing submissions to Parliament. And we have to do that every year. You've asked me for the price of this truck. I can't tell you now because it might change.
Yeah.
So how does a company that wants to change its fleet do that without having, because all companies focused, right? Everything happens in a financial year.
Yeah.
And so if I give them a price last year and they put it in the budget and then this year it has changed, it is difficult. It is very difficult. And so for me, the number one lesson that Kenya can actually learn, policy. Let us get policy right. Let it be long-term. Then I am 100% sure that a lot of capital will flow into the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And there is this thing in that logistics, because now this is what you're moving into, electrifying logistics.
Yes.
There are very many other auxiliary businesses that are fed by logistics.
Yes.
People do not see, but for instance, if I am traveling from here to Kisumu, to wherever, even globally, there are hotels, there are, like clothes, shops and many other things that are fed by logistics.
Yes.
I know when we talk about policy, it sounds very elite.
Yes.
It sounds like it doesn't affect the rest of us down here. But how can we make policies that empower everyone, bottom up,
For me, any policy that at the end of the day makes core aspects cheaper, more accessible, are always good.
Yeah.
We spoke about transport really being and logistics being a backbone of the economy. If we were able to just reduce the cost of transport overall, food will drop, food prices will go down. Transport, in Nairobi, over 50% of people use public transport every day.
Yeah.
If that 50% of people get a reduction in their costs, that is how policy, I think, can directly affect a large part of the population. Yeah.
And it does make a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, the people who suffer the most are the people who are not even sure that we will have 3 meals a day.
Yes.
Or, however many number of meals a day. And so, policy has to make sense down here before it is even, becomes a thing.
Yeah.
But beyond vehicles, how important is local energy generation? We can think of solar, geothermal, green hydrogen, in ensuring that Kenya's EVs transition truly reduces reliance on imported fuel.
Oh.
Yeah.
We use about $500 million a month.
$500 million
to import
a
fuel.
month.
Yes, to import fuel.
Wow.
And that has a big effect on the economy.
Yeah.
Because when you remove US dollars from the market and take them out, you even bring a shortage of those dollars to be able to buy other things.
Yeah.
But just what would happen if we just reduce that amount? And we're not saying now, tomorrow, that, the whole 500 million. We start with 1%, then gradually 5%, 10%. And now, and this is the thing that I love the most, when you reduce it from 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, there is a place that you're redirecting it to.
Yeah.
And where you're redirecting it to is the whole energy
Space.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
And this is important because energy is also another important backbone of the economy.
Yeah.
And energy is, you go to your barber right now.
It's like
If that guy doesn't have power,
he'll do nothing.
he'll do nothing.
Yeah.
You see? And so having reliable power, affordable power is extremely important.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we think e-mobility can do is actually be able to produce a steady customer, and that steady customer will eventually lead to better resources being directed to the whole energy ecosystem, all the way from generation, transmission to distribution.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. We have about 10,000 megawatts capacity for geothermal, but we don't have enough demand for. I mean, is that not crazy?
It is. It doesn't make sense. It does. But I think it's because we are very short-sighted as policymakers in this country, unfortunately, in that Uganda doesn't have enough power, but they sell to us. Look at the reverse. We have the capacity, the potential to generate 10,000 megawatts. We can sell to Uganda, to Rwanda, to Ethiopia, wherever, It is urgent. It is important. It is critical that we Africans move from relying on the rest of the world for our existence. And that brings us to the end of today's conversation on Africa's electric mobility, transition, and the growing push toward energy independence. From electric freight corridors to, from linking Nairobi to Kigali to local EV assembly plants in Kenya, today's discussion showed that this transcends transport and deeply embeds in industrialization, jobs, energy security, and Africa's economic future. We have heard how countries like Rwanda and Ethiopia are moving aggressively with policy support, while Kenya still faces uncertainty around taxation and long-term incentives. But we also explored the enormous opportunity for the region: abundant renewable energy, rising electricity demand, local manufacturing potential, and the chance to reduce dependence on imported fuel in an increasingly unstable global market. The bigger question now is whether African governments will move fast enough to support this transition. And because the templates are there, why not? A big thank you to John Msingo from Kabisa for joining us and sharing insights from the front lines of East Africa's EV transformation. Thank you so much, sir. Always a pleasure having you. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share it, and join the conversation on the future of mobility in Africa. Until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching to the Africa EV Show. And I hope to see you again soon. My name is Njenga Hakeenah.